Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have been receiving the question, how did you guys travel with your dog? And so I thought I would film today's video and answer some of the questions about how to import a dog into Malaysia. If you were to Google, import my pet to Malaysia, the top results are more than likely going to be from agencies who want you to hire them to help you with the whole process. So there's two ways of going about this. You can hire an agent to help you get your dog from where you are into Malaysia, or you can take care of it yourself, which is the route I chose to take. I'm not necessarily recommending it, although it did save us a ton of money, but also that added to it a whole bunch of headaches and me learning a whole system that I had no idea about and wrapping my mind around policies and procedures and things that someone else who is a pet agent would already be familiar with. So you have to kind of pick, do you want to save the money and figure it all out yourself, or do you want to spend the money and hire an expert who already knows what they're doing? So first off, let me just clarify one thing. The standard procedure from coming from different nations is to check the nation you're going to see what their import requirements for bringing a live animal are. So wherever you're coming from, you need to look at what Malaysia's import requirements are for a pet and make sure that you follow their specific checklist of what their requirements are in order to make sure you are prepared and you have the right documentation lined up in order to bring your dog with you on your trip to Malaysia. So we're from Canada, which means we had to connect with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency in order to make sure that we had all of our ducks in a row, as it were, to make sure we were ready to export our dog out of Canada into Malaysia. And what they do is they look at the requirements that Malaysia has outlined and make sure that we are ready and we meet those requirements before the Canadian Food Inspection Agency will sign off on those documents saying you are good to go and to send your dog with you on an airplane. Your local governing authority is going to be different based on what country you're in, but it's really simple. A Google search will let you know who needs to sign off on your vet paperwork and on the dog's vaccination status and all the things. You really want to make sure that you've got the right government authority connected with you, because it is imperative that you have the official signatures and the official stamps before you try to get that dog to the border and cross over into another country. So essentially, Malaysia required the dog to be updated on all of her vaccines. Obviously, make sure that her rabies vaccine is up to date. They also wanted to make sure that the rabies vaccine was administered within a certain time frame. I don't remember the exact details, but it was something like a minimum of 30 days old. In addition to having all of their vaccines up to date, you need to have the vaccine records from your veterinarian. They actually want what they call vaccine certificates. So in my case, I had to go to my veterinarian and say, hey, you know all the vaccines that my dog has had. Can I get some certificates? And they made up certificates for me because we don't have vaccine certificates at my vet. So they made up really great certificates and they had all of the details, the name of the drug, what the drug vaccinates against, the date of admission, the date the vaccine expires, the maker of that vaccine, the batch number, the lot number. I mean, all of the details needed for that vaccine were included on the certificate, as well as my name, the dog's name, our address, the dog's microchip number, the vet's information, the vet's official signature, and their license number. I mean, everything that somebody would want to have on the certificate was included in this vaccine certificate. So our vet administered some new vaccines to Marley, gave us all of the vaccine certificates required for them. Once those are signed off on, we went to the Government of Canada's website and printed off the official importing a dog or importing a pet, whatever, live animal, to Malaysia form. And we filled that out. The vet had to fill out a portion of that. And then we take all of the paperwork, including that form from the government's website, down to the local office. We had one in our city where the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is located, and a vet there takes a look at all of the paperwork and either says this is great, stamps them with the official stamp and signs off on them, or says not so fast, you need to get some things in order, as was the case with us. And let me tell you, it's no joke. We had used whiteout on an address because we had recently changed our address. Whiteout, no good. The vet had used a blue pen for part of her paperwork, and then when she went to deal with something, she came back and picked up a black pen and started using a black pen. No good. That was no good. The vet at one part had put the wrong date, so scratched it off and wrote the new date. No good. We had to go back to the vet's office. We reprinted out all the forms. She had to reprint out the vaccine certificates, and with blue ink, making zero mistakes, fill out the entire thing. Then we went back down to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's office, and then at that time she signed off on them. Keep in mind that there is a specific time frame for all of these, meaning that vaccines had to be given within a certain time frame before travel. There is another treatment the dog needs to receive within 7 days of travel. The dog has to be examined by a veterinarian within a certain number of hours or days prior to travel, and then the Food Inspection Agency has to sign off after all of that's been done. So right near the travel date, you're running around to all these appointments, printing out paperwork, getting the dog checked out, going down to get these papers verified and approved by the government. That whole process has a certain time frame it has to be done in. So just make sure you do your due diligence to get the correct information about the time frame you have to get all of that stuff done in, because you would hate to be stuck at the last minute realizing that there is a test that your dog needed that takes 5 or 10 days to get the results in, or whatever. Follow the instructions really, really carefully so that you have everything done according to the proper timeline to save yourself any unnecessary headaches. So in addition to all of the vaccines that the dog needed to get and all of the paperwork that had to happen and all of the things on the Canadian end, we had to make sure that we connected with Malaysia on their end receiving the dog. They needed an import permit. They also needed us to book a reservation, and the dog had to quarantine at a reservation facility for 1 week. This has to do with making sure that the dog is not sick. They want to make sure that a dog's not bringing rabies into the country, and so they quarantine your pet for 1 week. You are not allowed to visit the dog during that week. Someone checks in on them, feeds them, gives them water, takes them for a walk, and we had a really great experience with that. Actually, they sent us videos every day and pictures every day, and after 7 days were complete, they dropped the dog off to us at our Airbnb. That whole thing went really smoothly, but you need this import permit and this quarantine reservation booked before you leave your country. So before we left Canada, we had to have all of that in order. This is where they suggest you hire a pet agent. You guys, I got 2 or 3 quotes for a pet agent, and it included a whole bunch of trips to the vet and things that I was more than capable of doing myself. It included the airfare to get my dog to the final destination. I was more than capable of taking care of that myself. All in all, it was anywhere from $900 to $2,400 or $2,600 Canadian to help with exporting our dog to Malaysia. So we took care of it all on our own. I'm not gonna lie, the piece about dealing with the export permit and the quarantine facility appointment, that was the biggest challenge of all of them. So this is what I did. I Googled and discovered that the import office here in Kuala Lumpur is actually at the KLIA airport. So I contacted them directly and said, I need to make a reservation for my dog in the quarantine facility. We are arriving on such and such a date. It was a little hard at first talking over the phone with the time difference and language barrier. However, they use WhatsApp, and so they sent me a WhatsApp message, and from that point forward we did everything via WhatsApp. We got our dog booked into the quarantine facility. That was lovely. It was the import permit that was a little bit more challenging because they wanted to see all of the documentation that we had got from our vet and from signed off from the Canadian government agency, all the things. And finally we just left it as, we're just going to arrive and show them all the documentation upon arrival and trust that that's going to be good enough. And in our case, it was. Upon arrival, they issued an import permit. Her place was already booked in the quarantine facility, and because I had been texting via WhatsApp to the quarantine facility, they put me in contact with an agent who was able then, upon arrival, he met us at the airport and he signed off on Marley's paperwork and then took Marley to the actual quarantine facility. He checked in with her every day, fed her, sent us videos. That whole experience was really, really lovely. But there was the unknown of what's going to happen when we land in Kuala Lumpur. Is the paperwork going to be in order? But because we had been dealing with someone directly here, it went off smoothly without a hitch. Honestly, once we landed and saw the process play out, we were like, oh, this was really easy. We probably stressed out or were a little concerned for no reason. It was really smooth. The people were so lovely and wonderful to deal with, and they had everything in line, everything in working order, and it was really, really smooth. So there is no way to avoid your pet being put into a quarantine facility for a week, and it truly was like I'm not gonna lie, heartbreaking. They sent us videos every day, and she was by herself in this larger room, tile floor, tile walls. All that was in there was the crate she traveled on the airplane with. They fed her and gave her water, but you could tell she was not having it. She was not happy, and the environment was really, really noisy. Every video that they sent, you could hear other dogs and other animals barking and squawking and doing all the things. It was really loud, unsettling environment, especially for a dog like Marley, who's a little more timid. So every video she's just cowering in a corner, just probably internally begging to be released from, we called it quarantine jail. And obviously she was super excited when she was reunited with us, and when she was reunited with us, she stunk to high heaven. I have never smelled a dog smell like that in my life. It was horrific. So we immediately bathed her and calmed her down. For a little bit there, she had separation anxiety, but truly within 24, maybe 48 hours, she was totally back to herself. So when we flew, we chose to fly with EVA Airlines, and they actually have an amazing pet transport policy. Knowing what we know now, we are going to book with them when we fly from Malaysia to our next destination, because they were fantastic. You make a reservation in advance. When you book your airline ticket, you confirm that there is room on the flight for a dog to be put in the cargo hold, because Marley's too big to fit in a carrier under the seat in front of us on the plane. She had to go into the cargo hold. They confirm that you have a crate the right size and that your spot is in fact reserved. The day of, you show up to check into the airport, arrive a couple hours early. You get the paperwork saying that you have a dog that you're checking in. They put stickers on the crate saying live animal, this side up, careful, you know, all the things. You go over to another area where the larger baggage would be checked in, and someone there just does a quick security scan to make sure that there's nothing dangerous in the crate. And then you leave the dog with them, and like, that's it. One of the things we were encouraged to do was before boarding, double check with the gate that the dog had in fact made it onto the plane. And then once again, when we boarded, to confirm with the flight attendant that there was a dog that was put on the plane. And right away, like both of those times, they knew right away, yep, there's a dog on board this flight, everything's fine, she's made it. They assured us that she had made it on the flight, and it was wonderful to just see that they had already known before we even asked, yep, there's a dog on this flight and it has already been boarded. We had a layover in Taipei, and we were a little bit nervous about how that was going to go, because all of the dog's import paperwork was to her final destination. And as it turned out, we had nothing to worry about, because they treated her like a piece of luggage. They took her off of the one plane, put her in, it looks like a luggage cart like you would see out on the tarmac, except for it had cloth sides with holes in it for air to get in, and there was animals painted all over the side to let the workers know that had live animals in it, not luggage. And we were able to follow that, because it was very distinct through the window. We were able to follow it when it was driven up to where our airplane was, waiting for us to board at our connection. And then, because the plane can't take off until it's fully boarded anyways, the gate agents, they allowed us to stay at the gate looking out the window, even though the entire plane had already been boarded. They let us stay there and wait until we physically watched Marley get loaded onto our next aircraft. The ground crew was so great. They went on the lift with her, and they took her right in her crate, right up into the belly of the plane, got her situated, took a photo of her, sent that photo to the gate agent. The gate agent came over to us and said, here's a photo, your dog's on the plane. We were like, yep, we just saw her get on the plane. And then we boarded the aircraft knowing that our dog was on the second flight. Wonderful. So EVA Air's policy is they will send you a photo or show you a photo before you board your connecting flight, so that you could be guaranteed your dog is on the same flight as you. And that gave us so much peace of mind. We really, really loved that. Upon landing in Malaysia, Marley was sent into the airport along with any other oversized baggage. So we had to collect her from the oversized baggage area. We met our import worker, the agent that had been helping us via WhatsApp. So he took a luggage trolley over to the oversized carousel, got Marley off of there, put her on the luggage trolley, brought her over to the office where they had to inspect the dog and our paperwork and all the things. We got to see her there. She came out of the crate. She ran around and played with us for a while. And to our surprise, after a 14.5-hour flight, a 2.5-hour layover, and another, I guess, 4.5 or so hour flight, there was not one bit of mess in her crate. She did a wonderful job. She didn't eat any of the food we left her, and she didn't drink any of the water that was provided, but she was really happy to see us. She drank and ate right there in the airport with us, and you could see, like, it was not as traumatic of an experience as I would have imagined it would have been on a dog. She seemed to be completely herself once we were reunited with her very momentarily at the airport. As we then put her back in the crate and left her with the quarantine facility and the agent, and we turned around and left the airport, we could hear her barking, which is not normal for our dog. So that was really heartbreaking for us, but all in all, the whole experience was really smooth. A couple of tips that we learned about traveling with a dog. First of all, go online, measure your dog, make sure you get a crate that's big enough. You don't want the crate to be so small that they are uncomfortable. They have to be able to stand up and turn around without any part of their body hitting the crate. You want the crate to be large enough for them, but you don't want it to be so large that it's just ridiculous. So take the measurements and get a really great crate. In addition to that, you can get a water bottle that attaches to the side of the crate. Not a water dish that's open, it's just gonna slosh around, but a water bottle, kind of like what you would imagine a hamster or a gerbil drinking from. They make them larger for dogs. Train your dog in advance how to drink from that water bottle. For the couple weeks leading up to the trip, that's the only way we gave Marley water, and she became a pro at it. We also put a collapsible food dish, attached it to the inside of the crate, and left some food in there for her. And then on the outside of the crate, using zip ties, we attached a plastic folder with a zipper cover, and inside of that we had photocopies of all of her paperwork, all of her vaccination records, the import paperwork from the government of Canada, as well as her photo, her name, and all of our contact information, so that if anything happened, someone would know right away who to contact. We've actually updated that for our next leg of our journey. It's the same information, same picture, her name is there, all of our contact information is there, but in addition we put a little note there that basically just says, I'm a friendly dog, I'm kind of shy, please don't try to win me over, let me come to you. This dog is not intended for sale. She's our pet traveling with us on vacation. If you want to see more of her, you can check out the YouTube channel that Marley makes frequent appearances on. We wanted there to be a little note there just in case something did happen that delayed the time where we would see her. We wanted whoever was going to handle her to know not to approach her like you would a puppy. Oh, come here. Like, she doesn't want that. She just wants to know that you're there, and when she's ready, she will come to you and she will be very kind, but she's very nervous and a little bit shy, and so if someone comes to her, she's not gonna like that. She'll bark at them. We wanted that information there, and plus what we learned in our research as we were figuring out where in the world to go to next is many places want a letter to be attached saying that you are not selling the dog, that this is not a commercial transaction. So we decided to include that statement right there in this lighthearted, feel-good kind of, this is who Marley is kind of a letter, but it was still accomplishing the purpose of, we're not selling this dog, it's just coming with us on vacation. And then we included in there a Ziploc bag with more food. In the event that there was a flight delay or a flight cancellation or something that meant we weren't going to be with Marley in the length of time we thought, we wanted there to be extra food so that a worker would be able to dump some extra food from outside of her crate into the dish mounted to the door of her crate. So all in all, there was a lot of unnecessary stress and worry leading up to taking our dog out of Canada and into Malaysia. Once we got to this side of things and we saw how smooth the whole process was, from dealing with the vet at home to getting everything signed off on by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, to flying with Eva Air and seeing how wonderful their policies are for transporting animals, and to getting our dog booked in the quarantine facility and having someone at the airport to meet her, to take her there and take care of her while she was there, it was all really, really smooth. We were preparing to export her and it has been an issue. a completely different set of circumstances. I'm going to do another video once we figure this whole thing out and have a solution and the dog is exported. I will post another video to help you understand how to export your dog should you bring your dog to Malaysia, because they want to treat her like she's Malaysian. They want to treat her like the vaccines that you got because they required them to bring her here are no longer valid, and now she needs all new treatment. And so we've been fighting and pushing back and hired a pet agent, and we're doing all the things we can to advocate for this pooch who's just here as part of our family, to bring her with us to the next leg of our journey. As it stands right now, we think we are in good standing. We think we have a great agent helping us out who understands where we're coming from. But as of 48 hours ago, we were told they're not letting the dog leave the country unless she gets re-inoculated with all of these vaccines she just got less than 3 months ago. It's been a little stressful. But I will tell you how we ended up dealing with that and how it ends up working out for us once we are through that next leg of our journey. In the meantime, if you guys are going to be bringing your pets to Malaysia, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I am by no means an expert, and I do not know what your country's requirements are, but I have been through the process, and maybe I can help give you a little bit of insight on a specific question that you have. I hope that you found this video helpful. I know those of you who really want to bring your dog with you have been wondering, how on earth is it possible? It seems like a lot of work. It is, but it's not as hard as you would think. I hope this video has given you some useful information so you can decide if you want to do it yourself or if you want to hire a pet agent to take care of all the nitty-gritty for you. At any rate, that's where we're at for now. You guys, thanks so much for watching this video, and we'll see you back here next time at I Am Loved.